All right, this is an interesting one. So Red Panda Koala had posted something that a Reddit user, I posted around 2 years ago, and it was David Grusch, as you saw in the thumbnail. David Grusch had spoken at this event around 2 years ago, and it was a private event. He didn't get paid for it. He went there to speak to a bunch of bigwigs about the things that were happening that he went through. He had some huge details, and this Reddit user who was there posted about the stuff that was said, that Grusch said. So I thought it was interesting to kind of go through, and then we can kind of discuss the overall of what it means, because we still don't really know where Grusch is. We still haven't seen that op-ed. We still haven't seen a lot of these things. We know that he's consulting on that that movie with Kaczynski, but we don't know where he is. And this, if it was, again, around 2 years ago, it was right at the height of when everybody was talking to him. He was speaking to more people. So a breakdown, a little bit more of what he was discussing, I find to be interesting, because it's a couple of details that I had never heard before. And again, it's been 2 years, so maybe it's been floated out there. But check this out. Check out this post from Red Panda Koala. So again, Red Panda Koala here. David Grusch was speaking privately for wealthy people, according to Reddit. Grusch worked for a secret program to figure out how to track UFOs in the atmosphere. The U.S. has recovered a UFO 40 feet on the outside, 400 feet on the inside. Recovered UFO generates and uses a terawatt. So let's listen to this. This is kind of broken down, and then we'll talk about it afterwards. Here it is.
I actually went to a private 60-person presentation with David Grusch as the speaker. This was mostly all private citizens, as in professors, lawyers, business people, a few scientists, retired military, current FBI, and other government agency members. In the end, we were allowed to ask questions. Some asked him about this, and what he said was that he was part of an extremely secret program that had figured out how to track and find UAPs in our atmosphere and near Earth orbit. He said his op-ed will include much more details regarding this. It was hosted by a Wall Street bigwigs and his lawyer friend. It was sort of a small saloon-style talm. David also did it for free, even went as far as to fly in to NYC just for this. He had arrived only a few hours beforehand and then left first thing the next day. The idea was to get a group of both skeptics and believers from all these different walks of life for a talk regarding David and the things he has said. Most of the people that left had left as believers, or at the very least believed that David was not lying and truly believed everything he said. He also mentioned a few other things that I haven't heard him say before. Like that, he was told about a UAP that was in our possession that had a diameter of around 40 feet. But once you went inside, it was the size of a football field. They believed that the object was somehow able to manipulate both space and time. He also said that the object was both using and creating energy that was more than a terawatt when measured, which is an absolutely ridiculous amount of power, something along the ions of 1 trillion watts. He also mentioned that he had recently been informed that a U.S. adversary was considering full disclosure to get out ahead of the U.S., and that he passed this information along to the U.S. government. He also alluded to the retaliation that WQS had taken against him. It sounded pretty terrifying, and he wasn't the only one to be retaliated against. Multiple people involved in not only his investigation, but also his fellow peers in the UAP task force, such as Jay Stratton, were also threatened. He wouldn't go too much into since it's an open investigation, but these people pretty showed him that they could touch him or his family anytime they wanted. He also mentioned that the U.S. has taken part in a fair amount of crash retrievals before 1933. Also, that we wouldn't be surprised by what the NHI look like, such as they look like the typical gray, and they aren't sure where these beings have come from. There is also a chance that they are extra-dimensional, but that it could also just seem this way because of the technology they use, rather than them being actual extra-dimensional beings. Interestingly, he also mentioned how many people know the full scope of the phenomenon to be no more than 50 people, but it wasn't clear whether this meant 50 people currently alive or 50 people ever in history.
I'll tell you, life has been moving at 175 miles per hour for me lately, but One of the ways that I'm able to chill out, unwind, is Cornbread Hemp's CBD gummies. I mean, I really have been able to chill out, relax with these gummies. They're formulated to work with your body, not against it. I'm not a spring chicken, but I care about maintaining my physical and mental wellness. I've been trying to get myself healthy, and Cornbread Hemp's CBD gummies, they're a huge part of my wellness plan. They really make me relax. Cornbread Hemp CBD gummies, they're made to make you feel better. It doesn't matter if it's stress, it's discomfort, or you just need to chill out, relax. They use the best part of the hemp plant, which is the flower, for the purest and most potent CBD. All products are third-party lab tested and USDA organic to ensure safety and purity. So, right now, DTE listeners can save 30% off of their first order. You got to head on over to cornbreadhemp.com/DTE. Use the code DTE at checkout. It's cornbreadhemp.com/DTE. Use the code DTE. I promise you, you will thank me. All right, so that was actually from 2 years ago. Red Panda Koala wrote inside of that too. There was just something he wanted to go over, wanted to discuss things that Reddit had posted. So it was 2 years ago. This is in the height that's the end of 2003, and at that point in time, it shows you how much we've talked about this recently. How much things have changed in just about 2 years, right? So if it was 2 years ago, and it was after the hearing, it's when everybody wanted to talk to Grusch, and he was doing a private event for people. I like the fact that he didn't get paid for it. He was just there to talk to people about it. I think that was when, I don't know if he's, I was assuming they were talking about Danny Sheehan at that time. I don't know if he's still running around with Sheehan. I don't know. But at that time, you look at from what 2023 was to then the farce of the hearing in 2024 to what we got in 2025. And things are just kind of not been that cooperative, if you will. But he was in a very different place. And as he mentioned, I remember him being on Rogan. It might have been around the same time as this thing where they were talking and really getting excited about the UAPDA bill that could get passed. But he and Grusch on Rogan mentioned how Mike Turner could get involved. And if he did, then there would be a problem. And that's ultimately what happened. And that seems to be, this thing seems to be before any of that went down. So much has gone down since then, but it's the stuff that he's talking about in general, which is fascinating, right? Like all of it. And I do believe Grusch. I believe Grusch, what he says, the things that he's talked about in general. And I do have the question that I really just don't know the answer to. And whether it's him, Lukatsky, Lou Elizondo, Jay Stratton, why are they able to talk about these things that happen, whether it's a 40-foot UFO, all these different things that they can talk about at these private meetings? They can talk about it. Eric Davis, right? You can talk about it at these places. They talk about it, whether it's on a podcast or whatever it might be. But when it comes to testifying in Congress, they don't do it and they won't do it. And there's certain times that Lou Elizondo did testify, right? But then certain things I can't tell you. I'll tell you about a big 40-foot thing that I saw in the water, or I saw footage of, I saw this, but I can't go into specifics on that. I can't go into specifics on that. I can tell you this, but you just told me about this. Why can't you tell me about that? Grusch going into all these details. How come he didn't say this stuff that he's talking about here? How come he didn't talk about that at the hearing? I don't know the answer to it. I'm pretty naive to why or why not he can't say the things that he's able to say. Some people will say, well, one of the reasons that he's not doing it is because it's under oath. You can get in more trouble that way if anything is proven to be untrue. Because I don't understand the whole, well, it's classified thing, but I can talk about it here, but I can't talk about it there. I don't get it. And the op-ed is the other thing that was mentioned inside of this, which is fascinating, right? And to me, we've been waiting for that thing for a while, and it seems like it's being held up. People don't want it to come out. Remember, there is certain parts, I can't remember which, it all blends together at this point, what show it was that said that there was a particular, it might have been Matt Brown. Was it Matt Brown? Matt Brown, who said that if you even brought up David Grusch's name, it was like taboo, and you get in trouble for even bringing up his name. So clearly, they were trying to shut him down at all costs. So that op-ed is another one. They're just going to shut it down at all costs. So I don't know what it means overall for the future of Grusch. What I do know is that he's consulted on this movie. Now, he was working with Burleson. He was working with Burleson. It doesn't seem like he's working with them anymore. You don't hear about them in cahoots anymore. And it seems like he's off making this movie. Now, this is the other thing, and I've mentioned this many times over, where we're talking about Age of Disclosure leading into the Spielberg movie, leading into the Kaczynski movie, leading into the Trevorrow movie. This movie that he's working on, do they take stories like this? If he's out there at private events talking about this type of stuff, well, then why couldn't he tell Kaczynski this is the type of stuff that was recovered? These are the type of things that we saw. These are the type of things that I was told. And Kaczynski goes, well, damn, we got to put that in the script. It reminds me of like The Sopranos. I don't know if people are fans of The Sopranos. There was episodes where Christopher Moltisanti was talking to his writer buddy about some of the things that went down and happened. And he goes, this is great stuff. And they put it into the script. And I think, and it was like, it was real stuff. And you have some of these mobsters who are looking, going, oh my God, you putting that, what are you doing? You're putting that in the script. And that's what maybe they're going to do this time around, where we see this movie, this Kaczynski movie comes out to the average Joe. Oh, that's Hollywood being Hollywood. But to somebody in the agency going, this guy's still talking because that shit went down. Like the 50 people who worked on it. I mean, you could, just from that meeting alone, from that summary of the Reddit user, you could craft a whole movie out of that, of all the different things. I mean, come on, the energy that's used inside of the ship, like those types of things. It is that same conversation we've been having for the last 2.5 years since David Grusch went public, of if there is a way for other people to prove true the stuff that David Grusch was told, the other stuff that has been insinuated, if you get more people out there, but you need more people, and you need this type of 2023 energy to be happening today, and that's not where we're at. I was in the chat room for Jeremy Corbell's Weaponized earlier today, and the topic of his show is disclosure dead? And clearly, he and George Knapp do not believe that. And he answered me in the comments section something that I had said, and it was because George Knapp was quoting Carl Nell, and Carl Nell said something along the lines of that the last hearing was disappointing because it just seemed like the same beats were being repeated and nothing new was happening. George Knapp did not agree with that. He thought there were some fascinating things that happened. And I said I happen to agree with Carl Nell. I think that there's, for the, for this circle, there's really not a lot new, and it didn't push it towards the mainstream media, which I know some people still don't agree with me with, but it's how a lot of people get their news. And when they're focused, like if every day the news is covering a cat with a hamburger hat and he just dances all day long, and there was a story on every news for a week straight talking about the cat. Oh, the cat with the hamburger hat is back. Everybody on the street is talking about the stupid cat with the hamburger hat. If a couple of TikTok videos are talking about it, the word starts to get spread. There's a couple of YouTube videos, the word starts to get spread, and there's community, but it's not as widely spread. So inside of that thing, I said, I happen to agree with Carl Nell. I think that there was some good testimony and other things too, but I don't think it moved the needle. And we kind of went back and forth, and he said, well, I understand where you're coming from. I see it a little bit differently. And the point he made that I didn't really consider, although probably thought about it, but didn't really, I don't mention it when I often enough. George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell are constantly speaking to people who are getting more confidence now after that stuff to say, you know what, maybe it's time for me now. Because the more you do it and the more you see more of your peers, we might not be getting the information out the way that we hope for. But to those people who have been sitting on the sidelines just waiting, that gives them that extra boost of confidence to go out and do stuff. Because look at what Grusch did for other people in general. And even like Matt Brown, my story today was going to be about Matt Brown. Our good friend Pavel had posted a video, and Matt Brown quote tweeted his tweet. And Matt Brown said that there's some information coming from him, he hopes, soon. So we'll have to see. There's a lot of information, a lot of things coming. I mean, hell, man, the AI Atlas is supposed to be here in like 7 days. What's that going to be? Going to be a whole lot of nothing? We'll cover it on the channel, and we'll see. So what's your thoughts? Like I said, I know this is around a 2.5 year, or about 2 year old thing, but I think that it is interesting that this is brought to light now, and it also is relevant to what's happening in general and where is Grusch overall. So what do you make of all of it? Put your thoughts in there. Let us know. We want to hear from you.